This is the AT Banter Podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minnow, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
It is 2021. This is our very first episode of the year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday break.
That's right. We're looking 2020 in the rearview mirror saying goodbye.
Yeah.
But I have to say, there were some positives that came out of 2020. People being able to work from home and, I think it's just really opened the eyes of a lot of people to show what can be done when push comes to shove.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some pushing and some shoving in 2020, for sure. One way of putting it. How was your holiday?
Tiring.
No.
It was really tiring. It was good.
Really?
It was
tiring.
It was really tiring. I don't know. Maybe I think I've been fighting a little bit of some health issues.
Really?
But this week's been the worst so far. But overall, the holidays were fine. We did a bunch of video chats with family and friends, and Christmas Eve we did one, and then Christmas morning we did another one, and opened presents together with family virtually, and so yeah, we had a lot of fun. Played some games,
I think a lot of people were in that boat. Like, it was somewhat different, and for some people, I mean, it was radically different, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But we got through it. It's fine.
Yeah, I felt bad for some of our customers, or anybody, I guess, who had to spend it alone, who maybe didn't have family that they could Zoom with or do virtual meetings with. Just kind of strange year.
It was a strange year, but I mean, I think that's the key to dealing with something like that, is to just chalk it up to, this is going to be a weird year. It's going to be okay. It's just 1 year out of however many.
Yeah.
No big deal. So, the less of a big deal that you make it, the less of a big deal it is. That's my motto, everybody.
Motto of the show for 2021.
That's right. And on the back of that t-shirt, it says, F it.
There you go.
That's your winning attitude for 2020. That's how we got through it, everybody. So 2021, here we are. God, it feels weird to say that even. It's still a little bit surreal to me that it's 2021.
That's what I've been saying to people as well, as, it's hard to believe it's been 10 months, 11 months since the pandemic started. And I don't know if I can recall another year that has gone by as quickly as 2020 did. It just seemed to fly by.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because I find that too. Like, I find that the year did go by really fast. Mm-hmm. Like, it's sort of a lost year.
It is. Yeah. Maybe we were just so preoccupied.
Oh, I'm sure that was it. I mean, it's kind of hard for it not to go fast when it's such a shit show, the entire year, whatever. Anyways, in any case, it's over. It's gone. We don't want to talk about it. It's 2021. We're not going to talk about 2020 anymore, because we know what? We talked about 2020 enough in 2020. This is all about 2021.
Can you say 2020 one more time?
2021.
That's right. We're moving forward.
We are moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, what are we doing today?
Today, we are speaking with an Android app developer by the name of Pramit Bhargava, who has a voice control app he has developed named Louie.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, this is an app that it basically allows you to operate your mobile device strictly through your voice. Is that right?
Specific apps on your mobile device.
Oh.
And he can clarify that as well. So apps like YouTube, WhatsApp, accessing your contacts, making phone calls, all using your voice.
Well, and really, those are sort of the baseline essential apps that most people use on their mobile device anyways. So That's definitely a good start.
Yeah, I actually installed it on my old Android LG G6, and it's a little slow on my phone, but my phone is quite old. But I was able to tell it to do a search for something on YouTube, and I was able to pause it and go to the next video and search for videos, and all using my voice. And it worked really well.
Oh, really? That's excellent. Yeah, that's something that's really been missing. I mean, I know that
Apple does have a voice control app for your iPhone, and I think you can control most aspects of your phone. And Android, only in the last couple of weeks or maybe month, released their voice access app as well.
Okay. This is great. I feel like this is a new leap forward in terms of accessibility, because if you can really unlock the entire power of something like a mobile device through voice only, not only does that open things up for somebody, say, who is visually impaired, it's really somebody who has physical access issues. That could really be a huge difference as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to him a little bit, seeing kind of where or what his roadmap is, what apps, if he's willing to share, are coming next. He's got a great website. It's very well thought out, very detailed. He's got some videos about the app and how to use it. And yeah, I'm just excited to have him on.
Yeah, this is what I love about smartphones and really like development in general. It's so much easier to have really small development teams coming up with like really amazing apps. Like it used to be where, like, in order to create like something like a piece of software, you really needed like a fairly large development team. Whoa. And there was a lot to it. Whereas now I feel like app development is almost like a cottage industry. You can have a team of 1 or 2 or 3 people that could really develop a really amazing and innovative app that nobody else has thought of.
Yeah, and I don't know much at all about programming or code, but I think in the last few years, maybe, 5-10 years, and Pramit can probably correct me on this, but I think programming languages themselves have become more accessible. There's more tools available to people with disabilities to go and create their own apps.
Yeah, so I feel like it's a real golden age of development, especially because everybody has these really powerful platforms, i.e. Android and iOS, that they can use to develop all kinds of things. So yeah, it'll be interesting to talk to him, and I'm interested to hear what his story is and the background in developing this, what made him want to develop an app like this. At the moment, there isn't a lot out there like this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So cool. Hey, what else it is this week?
Vispero released some new updates to JAWS Fusion and Zoom Text today.
Oh, that's boring. No. Software updates are such a nerd. Get excited over. It's on version 2.0.6a.
No, I don't get that specific anymore.
Sure.
I'm getting old.
No, what I was referring to was World Braille Day is this week.
Yes.
Of course, when this episode airs, it will have been last week. So, hello, future. But yeah, it was January 4th, World Braille Day. It was Louie Braille's birthday. And Louie Braille, of course, being the inventor of the Braille system.
It's definitely gained a lot of ground. Everybody I looked at on Twitter yesterday was just Braille, 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 yeah. Braille. There was virtual seminars going on Braille. It was everywhere. It's good to see.
Yeah, it is good to see. I'm really glad to hear that, because I really feel like for the past 5-6 years, Braille was a little bit on shaky ground with the advent of screen reading technology sort of becoming a lot more ubiquitous on mobile phone platforms. They became a lot more common. Windows built-in narrator into the operating system. Screen readers were sort of everywhere, and I feel like for a lot of people, that sort of screen reading technology, there was a thought that it might replace Braille, but that's so misguided.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been an argument for a number of years, but in order to have true literacy, being able to read and write, spell words correctly, Braille is the tool for the blind. And I think that debate needs to end, because everybody who is partially sighted and will lose their sight over time should start learning it.
Yeah.
You know, the sooner the better. Even if it's just a simple alphabet to label stuff in the house, it's totally worth the time and effort it takes.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I think I really agree with that. I think that part of the problem right now is that people don't learn Braille soon enough. And I'm talking about specifically about, say, people who have some sort of a degenerative eye condition where they know for a fact that they're going from low vision and eventually they will be blind. And I feel like for a lot of people, they just don't want to accept that. And they don't want to learn Braille until they actually have to. And, you know, I've heard it time and time again from people who are saying that, you know, they really wish that they had learned or started learning Braille earlier than they did, because it would make that transition a lot smoother. But I mean, I get it in a sense, because I know that there's emotions involved. I'm sure that, you know, when you have something like an eye condition like that, you know, you don't want to, you don't want to admit defeat, and you don't want to do something like learn Braille, because it just feels, I don't know, maybe it feels.
Well, there's definitely a grieving process, you know, and it takes time to process the fact that A, you are losing your sight, and then B, once it's gone, okay, now what do I do? It's gone. You know, in my case, I lost it instantaneously. So I just thrown into the fire and, you know, pretty much had no choice. But listening to people talk about when they learned Braille, how they learned Braille, it totally makes so much more sense to surround yourself or bury yourself into Braille, whether it's having a mentor who can, you know, guide you along the way, or just going for like a 4-week, 8-week, whatever the time period is, course, you know, just diving deep into Braille and really learning it well, because screen readers are okay, but at the same time, they are not going to read your can of soup. You know, they're not gonna read a lot of different items you may have in your house, whether it's for labeling clothing or stuff in the fridge.
So one of my New Year's resolutions and one of my 2021 goals is to learn Braille.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm totally going to do it. I'm going to take a course through Hadley, and I'm going to learn how to read Braille.
Good for you.
Yeah, I thought that would be fun. I thought that was a good 2021 goal. And now when you and Rick talk about .8 and .6, I know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, nice.
And who knows? You know, who knows when you need it? I mean, I also want to learn sign language too, but that's a whole nother thing. But
well, and again, you know, when I learned Braille, it was literary grade 1 and grade 2 Braille. And then UEB came along and some of the contractions changed. So, you know, I haven't learned the UEB code. I'm understanding that a lot of it is the same. So the learning curve wouldn't be that great. But, and I don't use Braille on a daily basis. You know, I have a Braille display here that I can be using. But, you know, I choose not to. But at least I have the ability that I can pull out my Perkins Brailler or my Braille display, and I can read in grade 1, some grade 2 Braille, what it is that my computer might be reading to me, or if somebody hands me, you know, something that's been brailled out, I can probably make my way through it.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
Well, it absolutely is, you know, and we could go on about that, but I mean, I don't know. We've probably done like 5 episodes of the show about our opinions on Braille.
That's right. Go and listen to the Limitless podcast.
Oh, look at that. You're plugging the Limitless podcast. Look at you go.
Look at that.
Well, yeah, we could go on ad nauseum about Braille, but that's not what this show is about. Oh, hey, you know what else? I got an email from, you remember our good buddy, Tony Giles?
Yes.
The world traveler, the
Yep.
guy that just shows up in countries and he's completely blind and just figures stuff out.
Yep.
Yeah. I got an email from him, and apparently he's been keeping busy. He's still been traveling, but he's got a new book out.
Really?
It's called Seeing a Slice of Southern Africa My Way.
Huh.
An enlightening journey.
I bet.
Yeah, you know what? I will include the link to that in the show notes if anybody wants to check that out. But yeah, our thoughts are with Tony. We should really probably have him back on the show because I was just fascinated by his story. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at the archives and see when we had him on last, but it's definitely been a while.
We were definitely in the guitar dungeon. So it's more than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
God, I wonder if he was traveling during the pandemic.
Yeah, I don't know. That would have been kind of scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like traveling as a blind person in a pandemic? Like,
well, that's, kind of one of the choruses in my latest song, right? They tell us to stay 6 feet apart. I'm blind. How am I supposed to do that?
right.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
People yelling at you, screaming at you.
Knowing Tony, man, he's fearless, that guy. So if anyone can do it, Tony can do it.
Anybody can do it. You just stiffen your back, you grab your cane, you say, "Pardon me, out of my way."
Wow, look at you, 2021. You're a different dude. What did you do with Ryan?
Ryan who?
Yeah, exactly.
He's gone.
Hi everyone, this is Steve from Canadian Assistive Technologies, and this is a shameless plug. We've been working hard to find less expensive Braille products so we can make Braille available for more people. We can now say that we have Canada's most comprehensive lineup of inexpensive Braille solutions, including the 20-cell Braille Me from Innovision, the soon-to-be-released 40-cell Orbit Braille display from Orbit Research, as well as the world's least expensive multi-line Braille reader, the Canute from Bristol Braille. You can have a look at them all on our website at www.canastech.com.
Joining us now is Pramit Bhargava. All right, so Pramit, I am Ryan, and joining us in the room is my host, Rob Minnow.
Hello.
Hi, Rob.
And all the way from India. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Wonderful. Well, listen, we're excited to talk to you. But before we really dive too far into it, I'm really curious to hear a little bit about you and your backstory and how Louie came about.
Okay, so I was actually somebody with a normal vision. So half my life is with vision, half my life as a visually impaired. I did my computer engineering, then went on to do MBA, and then I worked with global companies like Unilever, Motorola, Quest Diagnostics, and it was about 20 years back when the reaction of a drug impacted my retina, and the vision sort of just dropped overnight. And I could still get some correction, so I continued working, but my vision was dropping, and doctors really had no clue. Because like I said, it was reaction of a drug. So I had all kind of, I had macular degeneration, I had pigments, colorblind, anything and everything was there. And it was almost 9 years back, when my vision started dropping rapidly. I couldn't read anything at all. And this was a phase, suddenly, I found myself completely, with no confidence at all the devils in the mind saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. So 2.5, 3 years, I was just sitting at home, almost lost. I was trying to use the screen readers, adjusting to them. And it so happened because I lost confidence. I think it was more in the mind that for even simple things in life, even if somebody was calling me up or if I have to call Rob, let's say, I had to always seek somebody's help, even for the simplest of things. So I think that experience actually taught me a great deal, both about life and, I think it has, of course, influenced, how Louie voice control came about.
So Pramit, let me ask you, what are the support systems like in India for somebody who is losing their vision or is blind?
Yeah, I think great question. So my sense is that people who were born blind, right? So the kids who were born blind, so what happens is there are, I think, good support systems for them, because the parents have no option but to go out and figure out what is there. And then there are options like, for example, there are hostels, there are people who are training them, there are people who are focusing on their education. So for somebody who was born blind, I think it's relatively, I would say, there is far more help. Now, for somebody like me, and if you, whatever data I've looked at, I think almost 80%, 85% people lose their vision over a period of time.
Right.
And I think then suddenly what happens is that person, like in my case, I myself wasn't sure, what resources that are available, because I never looked at that. To the family around me, the friends around me, they had no idea. And then somewhere like in my case, I just tried to figure it out everything on my own. I didn't even make an effort to go out. So I would say it's probably, if I compare it on a global basis, whatever I heard of US or UK or Europe, I think it's far more organized there, relatively, I think far easier. Here in India, we don't have one big organization, but there are a whole lot of small ones. So you still got to figure out in your city, where you stay, what is the center close to you. But I think it's gradually improving. Let me put it this way.
Sure. Okay.
Well, I see that is the real importance of apps like Louie and so many others out there, is that, with everybody having smartphones, having apps like this to help in terms of mobility or accessibility, and even if it's something minor and small, it can be a really big deal to somebody who's just losing their sight or having just lost it.
I agree completely. And particularly, Ryan, what I would say, and this is something I've observed in India, and this was the point I was making, that, like, for example, there are some certain centers who are running 3-month courses, 6-month courses. Now, for somebody who, loses his vision or, didn't have vision, let's say, to begin with, there have to be easy solutions with a very low learning curve. So at least, you're off the ground. Because what I think, is in my case, and I've spoken to a lot of visually impaired people, I think you lose the battle in the mind. So once that confidence is gone, it's very important to gain it back. And the only way you can do it when you start doing things on your own, when you feel that you are in control and you're becoming sort of independent. So I completely agree. Every new app, and with an easy learning curve, and with somebody in the family themselves can sort of quickly understand and teach you, or you learn on your own. So that is one objective behind Louie Voice Control. How do we make it really easy to use?
So could you give us a little bit of a snapshot for the audience, just a little bit of an introduction and what Louie does?
Yeah, sure. So Louie Voice Control is actually a very, very simple idea. The thought is with just voice commands, can I completely control my phone and my popular apps? Now, how this came about is important. I think that will bring alive the concept. So, I had met a managing director of a large venture capital company who had put this thought in my mind. I was doing consulting at that time, and he said, look, why are you, consulting is okay, but why not build apps for people like you? You can leverage your experience and, do something which will help you and help others. So this thought was back of my mind, but you know how it is. Getting into a startup is not easy at all. And I had gone to meet a friend, and on the way back, he took my smartphone and he said, why don't I book Uber for you? He asked me my destination and he put it in Uber, and he said, okay, it's showing up these 3 matching destinations. Which one you want to take? I selected the one. Then he told me the rides available, the fare. I said, okay, take this one. And then similarly, he confirmed everything with me and then booked and even called the driver for me. And on the way back in Uber, I just felt this was a wonderful experience. A, it was extremely convenient. B, I just felt that, I was in control. So I was, because what I have felt as a visually impaired, that I want to be independent, but I want to be in control as well. That's very important. So I just felt that, look, what if I could create a virtual friend right on the phone screen, which will do exactly the same thing. So what Louie does is, so if I have to draw on this example, now, for example, Louie completely voice enables Uber. So end to end, every functionality of Uber, I can control with voice commands. So that's one. Second is that it does continuous voice interaction, exactly like the way my friend was doing. So every time I have a doubt, I just close my eyes and think back, of that experience and what will my human friend do, if he were there. So there is continuous voice interaction, there is continuous hand holding, the options are being given to the user, and it sort of doesn't take a command and go silent. So that's very important. So that's really broadly, Ryan, I would say the overall concept of Louie.
Yeah, I installed Louie on my old Android LG G6 to experience it myself. I'm totally blind myself, Pramit. And so you're right. When I launched YouTube, I used it as my example. You're right. Every part of it was spoken. What would you like to do? And I said search as one of the options that came up. And so I could dictate what I wanted to search for. And then, would you like this one? Would you like this one? Would you like this one? And I chose the one I wanted, and it played it. After it was done, what would you like to do now? And like you said, from beginning to end, it was Louie guiding me through each step of the way.
So like I said, I've just tried to solve my own problem and I think just replicate that whole experience which I had with my friend. But there is still just so there's still a lot of work to be done. So right now we are seeking a lot of feedback and inputs from everybody.
Will Louie allow you to fully control your phone or just specific apps on your phone?
Okay, so we have to work individually on every app or every functionality of the phone.
Right.
So like I said, the vision is, and that's why I said there's a lot of work to be done. So the way we want to go forward is that, look, all the critical functionalities of the phone. So for example, whether it's settings or, whether all the popular apps that are there, we want to do it on our own and hopefully, create Louie more like a platform where other app developers can come in, we can share an SDK and they can integrate their app with Louie, because of course we can't do everything, but the idea is to cover all popular apps.
Well, and you've got the
if I can yeah,
I was just gonna say, and you've got the basics down, like making a phone call, accessing contacts, like you said, booking an Uber, some of the things that people might do on a regular basis, Louie does.
Correct. And one of the other things that we are also working on, so I'll give you examples because these are all results of feedback in the last 1 month. So for example, right now it works only in online mode, but within 3-4 days, we are taking out an offline capability also, because there are parts of the world where either internet is very expensive and or it's patchy.
Yep.
And if you want to make, like you said, a phone call, you want to send a text message, you don't need an internet for that. Similarly, the other thing what we are working on is, the images, So for example, today on WhatsApp, let's say if Louie were to encounter an image, it will just tell the user this message contains an image now, which is actually, of no help. So what we are doing is we are completely integrating OCR as well as image recognition in a completely seamless way. So the whole idea would be that, just like it would read a text message or play out an audio message, it would be able to, in that same seamless way, just tell the user that this message has an image which has got so and so and has got this text on the image. So all those capabilities we are sort of building in, and hopefully be able to do even something like an Instagram, which is so visual, but then which can really open the doors for a lot of visually impaired people to be in the hottest social media app. So you're right. So the basics are there, but you still need to build a lot more capabilities.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great features. Like, I have an iPhone, and one of the great features it has is, I guess, the AI ability to try to grab whatever text might be on a graphic or give you information as, image contains 2 people, dog, and tree, which is better than just image. So is that what you guys are doing? You guys are using AI as well, or object recognition?
That's correct. But just to be, just to so that I don't overclaim or anything. So, I think Louie, what we do very smartly is we don't reinvent the wheel, right? Because see, what we must appreciate is, like, for example, if you take Siri is almost more than a 25-year-old project. I mean, Apple bought it only in 2010. It was there since 1990s. And I think billions of dollars would have been spent, trying to build that. So for us as a small startup, what we are good at is leveraging a lot of existing technologies, including OCR and image recognition, because, we can't build these, you can imagine, all the biggies are there, trying to do that and do better.
Yeah.
So the smartness is to, how do we leverage the existing technology and provide an experience and a solution which is tailor-made for a blind person? And I think that's the biggest difference we are making. The kind of handholding, continuous interaction, like I said, that seamless ability to even, make images accessible. So that's what really we are good at.
And do you have plans to bring it to iOS, or are you going to stay on Android because it's easier?
Yeah, so see, we needed to start somewhere. And I think it just so happened that, by the way, Android also was not easy. Let me tell you, 4 years I've been working on this. Only 2.5 years back, we formally started a social venture. Initially, everybody told me not possible. So I went to some large companies. Everybody, their Android heads, first response was just not possible. But we stuck at it. We did a technical feasibility for almost 6 months, cracked Android. So the same approach I want to take on iPhone as well, which is second half of next year. So yes, a lot of people are telling us that, look, it's not as open, you may not be able to do it. But I just want to attack it with an open mind and see, and if required, possibly go to Apple also, because I think there is a strong social impact case for something like this.
Right.
So I'm not going to give up. I want to get onto iPhone as well, because I really realize that, a lot of people across Western countries for sure use iPhones.
Yeah. And is there like a cost or subscription for Louie?
Okay, not right now, but you will appreciate that at some point. Because see, sometimes what happens, good ideas come and then they cannot sustain themselves because Android keeps changing, apps keep changing, technology keeps changing. So it's important that, for us, it's important that while there is a social good aspect of it, and we want to make sure that it is so affordable that everybody in the world can afford it. So that's very important for our social venture. But at the same time, it's important to be sustainable and profitable. So just to give you an idea, so we have right now 13 people in our team, and we have investors in India, US, and Singapore. And at least for a year, it is going to remain free. I like to keep it free as long as I can, with investor support.
Mm-hmm.
But even when we price it ourselves, the thought is, we'll not just have $1 price across the world. So we'll have, even in US, for example, we want to keep it at an affordable, I like to benchmark it against a cup of coffee. So just one cup of a normal coffee, regular coffee, not a Starbucks coffee, which could be $5, but one regular coffee. And if you benchmark like that across the world, you'll get a very different pricing.
Right.
So, Africa can be a very different point of affordability. So that's what we want to do. Because for me, I'm doing it more to, like I said, solve my problem and hopefully make it work for everybody else. So it's important that not 2% of the people use it and make us profitable, but everybody has access to it and they can sort of afford it.
So I'm curious about the actual technology behind it, because I've always thought that something like being able to control your phone with your voice, I'm often surprised that isn't something that hasn't been more available sooner. I know that Android has some sort of limited built-in functionality in that sense, and Apple as well. Why is it that this type of technology really hasn't? I mean, here we are in 2021,
Right.
10 years down the road from smartphones, and still we don't really see a lot of apps like this. Why do you think that is?
See, okay, so you're absolutely right. I mean, come to think of it, it's a ridiculously simple idea, right? I can't take a patent over this idea that, by voice control, by just voice commands, control your phone. I think if you ask me where the difference is, that see, our starting point was a blind person. And today also the core use cases of a blind person who cannot see the screen at all. So as I said, then the requirements are completely different. Now, today, all the tools and technologies are there. If somebody wants to do it, it's not going to be easy. Of course, Google and Apple can do it far more easy. But for any third party, it's not going to be easy at all. But I think somewhere, everybody has focused on the sighted person. So even, for example, if you take Google Assistant also as an example, and if I take the whole Uber experience and it asks me, where do you want to go? And if I say, okay, I want to go here, it will show up 3 options on the screen and it will select. Right. Now that doesn't work for a visually impaired. And then, of course, they have the habit of going silent all the time because the way they have been designed, I think it's more of a designed thinking. So even Siri, that, fundamentally they are designed with, one command and then you take an action and then go silent. That whole continuous interaction, and particularly being able to do everything within an app. I don't think it exists right now on any other app.
Yeah, and the thing about this type of technology is that it extends far beyond even just, blindness or, low vision into people who have, physical access issues, for example, people who are in wheelchairs or quadriplegics. I mean, and I know that there are solutions out there for this, but it just seems to me like having something like, an app like Louie or built-in functionality to the operating systems of these phones would just have been like some sort of a natural fit.
Even something like Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is, dictation software for the computer, for the PC or Mac, still isn't allowing us to do natural language dictation to the computer. There's still specific commands you need to speak out in order to have things done. So, natural language processing, I guess, still is a tough science project.
It is, but like we try to do for Louis, I think you could still figure out a certain kind of human interactions where it's sort of more controlled, and yet user is easily able to understand it and do it. So I agree with you. There's a lot more work that can happen, and the core technology definitely exists.
So how do you prioritize like what apps you're going to work on next? Is it community driven, or do you have your own roadmap?
Okay. See, right now it's completely community driven, but just to be honest, like I said, I've been working on it for 4 years. 2.5 years back, we started the company. And I think almost 1.5 years back, we had a very basic prototype, which we still decided to put it up on Play Store for, users to use. And honestly, all along at that time, I always had this feeling that, look, am I the only idiot in the world who's going to use this app? So it's about 6 weeks back that we actually started telling the world about Louie. And today we actually get, my email ID, my mobile WhatsApp number is, freely available with users. So I get a lot of these direct calls. I talk to a lot of people. So today it's all community driven, if you ask me. So for example, I'll give you examples. So we did have a roadmap. But then, users came back and told us that, look, I have difficulty even doing, for example, Google search, browsing on Chrome, being able to read articles, being able to read documents, etc. And then, documents which can be scanned documents, or documents which are readable. So, or even simple things like, receiving calls, disconnecting calls, or like I told you about the image recognition and reading it. Or even something like Instagram. I mean, a lot of people just don't use it because they just feel that, look, it's not for visually impaired. So I think as we are going along, there is this rich feedback, which we continuously keep getting offline, the thing that I spoke about. And that's the way I would really like to build this app.
So in terms of development, so when you say pick an app that you're going to make Louie compatible with, like say we'll use WhatsApp for an example, how closely do you then have to work with those app developers in order to make it all work?
Okay, actually, that's another beauty of our app. I don't have to go to anybody. So just to tell you, we initially built a screen reading technology for ourselves, and now we leverage that. So the way it works is that, imagine, if I have to go to any of these big multinationals, and for them to open up their app, there will be massive documentation, legal agreements, liabilities, this, that. It could take months. I mean, I'll be out of business by that time. So what we do is we actually work on top of each app. So we have the capability to work on top, also work with APIs wherever available. So for example, the entire phone calling in Android, contacts management, text messaging is all through API. So that's done under the hood. But Uber, for example, WhatsApp, YouTube is all right on top of the screen. So that's why I said it's like a virtual friend right there on the phone screen. Now that gives us, so theoretically, whatever a sighted person can do, Louie can also voice enable it completely for for a blind user with just voice command. So that's why our approach is so much more powerful.
So it sounds like that's really the power of Louie, is that it's very versatile, because you can literally just pick any app that the community has sort of chosen as something that they'd really like to see included, and you can just roll with it, and you don't have to wait for all that.
Absolutely, because I don't have to seek any permissions, etc. And by the way, these companies help. So for example, Uber helped us with the test accounts. Otherwise, imagine we would have gone bankrupt by now, just booking these Uber rides and canceling them.
Right.
So today I have these test accounts where anywhere in the world, any city in the world, I can actually take an Uber ride. and test my app, whether it's working in Mexico City, whether it's working in New York. I can do that sitting right here. So we have received a lot of support and help from them. But like I said, we just do it independently. And you're absolutely right. It just gives us complete freedom.
I've got a list of apps I'm going to email you tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful. Please do that. And also, not only list of apps, the things which are pain points, things which you find difficult to do and wish that, they were a simpler solution.
Oh, they're not even difficult. I just want to use my voice. I don't want to have to reach over and touch my phone.
Yeah, I know. And by the way, it's very addictive. I used to have a mental block against using voice commands. Can you believe it? So it was an investor who pushed me and he said, look, the future of technology is voice. And tomorrow there may not be screens. So what are you doing with your screen reader? That's where the conversation started. And he was right, because today if you see smart speakers, gadgets, with voice capabilities, and it's very, very addictive. I can tell you today, I just hate to use, touch my screen, and not for typing at all. I mean, I just hate typing. It's not needed. I mean, this is far more convenient.
That brings up a really valid point though, too, because I think you're absolutely right. We are moving in that direction of voice controlled, and it is becoming more and more ingrained in people. Like I'm a perfect example. Like over Christmas, I went and bought smart bulbs for my living room.
Right.
Right. And so that I can just tell Google to turn off the lights. And I could also just lean over and turn them off. But you know what? 9 times out of 10, no, I'll tell Google to turn them off because I don't know, because I'm a nerd. Right. But I do think that is it. We are moving that way as more and more as we get used to voice commands, and we want to like be able to like just turn the TV on and off with our voice, or the idea of a smart home is becoming more and more comfortable for a lot of people. And I really see a really huge use case for blind or partially sighted people, especially in a mobility sense. If you're out on the road and you've got a cane in one hand or you've got your dog in the other, the ability to be able to use your voice to control your phone, to bring up Google Maps, or to answer the phone, or to check your email, or whatever you want to do, I think is really powerful. But that being said, there's also a huge mainstream applicability as well, because I think that just everybody could use, voice control on their phone at one time or another.
Absolutely. And, so you had mentioned motor disabled. There is also a sizable elderly population, and some of them are not so comfortable with technology as well, especially the touch phones. So, it works for them as well beautifully.
Yeah. And especially especially as great as voiceover and talkback are, like, and I'm sure Ryan can attest to this, like it can be a real pain in the butt where you're after your swipe, double tap. Like that can really require a lot of, it can require you needing extra hands, especially when you're on the go.
Well, if you look through the list of gestures in iOS or in TalkBack on Android, there's 1 finger tap, double tap, 2 finger tap, 2 finger triple taps, 3 finger taps, 4 finger taps.
Yes.
Like you could tap all day long and still not learn all the gestures. So if I could just say, Louie, play my audiobook, Man in the High Castle, it starts playing it. Then I can pause it. I could skip forward. I could skip backward. Some of the things that people want to do on a regular basis is super powerful. Like I was saying earlier, if I'm laying in bed listening to an audiobook or a podcast, or I want to check the time, I don't want to have to reach over, hit my phone, unlock it, swipe up to find the time, or pause my book or whatever. I could just say, Louie, stop, or Louie, what time is it? Or, Louie, pause the podcast. It's so much more convenient.
Absolutely. And I think the good thing about voice solutions is, the other difference I'd like to point out is, let's say I'll take an example of WhatsApp, which is like Messenger. Now you want to, let's say, clear your chat. So all the messages in the chat. Now, typically, if you have to do it via screen reader, there are at least, lots of swipes and taps and, all of that you'll have to do, probably 8, 10 of them. Now with Louie, you just have to say clear. And that will, it will open up and do everything. So it actually saves you a lot of that trouble as well. And as a user, you just need to say what you want rather than worrying about what's on the screen, which buttons are there, where inside the menu it is there. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
So that's why I feel that the learning curve can be really, really short for this.
well, and not all apps are created equally. Developers use different design techniques, different layout structures.
Absolutely.
So you don't, with Louie, you don't have to learn that the pause button is down in the middle of the bottom of the screen, or the next button is on the right-hand side of the screen. Louie will come up and say to you, Ryan, what would you like to do next? Play, stop, next, back. You just tell it what you want. It's so convenient.
Correct.
Like, it's great.
Correct. And the apps also keeps changing. So apps might change their UI itself. So suddenly what used to be on the left has now gone to the right, or changed completely. And it impacts you as a screen reader. It doesn't impact us actually.
Right.
Well, and that was my next question, because as a developer, because obviously apps get updated all the time, and UIs change. Does that ever screw you up? Like, do you have to be like, oh no, WhatsApp completely changed their API, so now we have to adjust?
Okay, I'll tell you once in a while. Now we have become good at the game. So just to tell you, WhatsApp in last 2 years, 1.5 years, only once they made some changes. We saw them coming. It took us about 6 hours to fix those. Uber keeps changing here and there, little changes. YouTube also, you see YouTube, I think, comes with an update every 2-3 days. But most of them don't impact us, right? These are minor changes which we are now good at. And a lot of these changes, you don't have to update your app. So, what we do is our voice data is actually stored on the server. And we just update the app, so let's say there is a minor change. I can actually just make the change, upload it to the server, and automatically it comes onto your phone. So you don't have to update your app, to make it work with the new version of, let's say, an Uber or a YouTube.
So now I'm curious about the team, because I was just saying this to Ryan earlier, that I really feel like the great thing about today is that it's very different developing software / apps than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you had to start a software company, and it just seemed to be a lot harder. Whereas app development these days seems to be a little bit more like a cottage industry, and you can have a smaller team. So I'm just curious to know the story around your team and just how big is it?
So we started with me as the single person initially. Then the earlier recruits are all developers. And today we have a team of 13, which includes 6 people who are Android developers. And then, by the way, I have 3 more visually impaired people in the team. So they typically take care of user experience and testing. And then we have a small marketing team. So that makes it total 13 of us.
Right.
And so you're right. Today, I think the tools are there. But then, the whole game is the concept, the visual, that visioning it out and saying, okay, what is it that we really need to make? And then, like I said, smartly putting this technology together. And the one other area which we focus on, and I realize myself that, look, users don't really deal with technology, right? So if you take Louie, what is Louie for a blind person? It's just Louie saying something and then the user is supposed to say something, right? So it's just a two-way conversation. So you focus a massive amount of energy on user experience. So just to tell you, let's say if I'm doing an app, it is quite possible that I might crack the app in technical terms within 3 weeks. It might take another 3 weeks to get the user experience right, the user flows right. So slowly our developers are also getting used to that idea. I had to initially even use blindfolds, because often, they look at the screen and say, oh, it seems to be fine. What's the problem? So I had to, put on the blindfold and say, now you tell me, can you do it? So I think somewhere, while we say technology, there are these softer aspects, which are very important. So we were, day one, we knew that it's going to be a global app. So one of the ways you can start it is by saying, hey, Louie. So we, wanted a name which is short and sweet and easy to pronounce, whether you are in Russia or US or South Africa or India. So, so it was one of the agencies that was helping us. They came up with the name Louie, and they saw it. It was completely inspired by Louis Braille. And we know how much Braille has impacted our life. So Louie has, with that inspiration, then maybe we can also create some kind of an impact, on our community. So that's how the name Louie came.
I love it. And it was just World Braille Day.
Yeah, absolutely. 3rd of Jan, correct.
Well, listen, we want to thank you so much for coming on. Before we let you go, though, can you let everybody know where they can find Louie and reach out and contact you if they have any questions or if they want to suggest an app?
Great. So Louie is spelled as Louie. The name of the app is Louie Voice Control, and you will find it on Play Store in Android. And like I said, we would be working on getting it for iPhone as well. And I can be reached on my email ID. It is Pramit, Pramit, @louisvoice.com. And like I said, Louie being spelled as Louie. So Pramit @louisvoice.com.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you, sir. Best of luck with the app. It's amazing. And we'll have to have you back on when there's some more apps being supported. And we'll talk again.
Yes, thank you so much. I just enjoyed it here.
Great, Pramit. Thanks so much. You're just starting your day over there, aren't you?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But it's a good beginning to the day. And I look forward to your email with all the suggestions for the apps.
You'll have it by Friday. It's a long list.
Be careful. Be careful what you wish for.
No, and by the way, please use it. And even if you don't like any of it, just give me the feedback as is. I really love it. In fact, a lot of the feedback, people come back and say, great app. It doesn't help me. So I love getting feedback saying, oh, this is not working for me. Or can you make this work differently because this is what I need? I mean, because that really helps us improve.
Let me ask you one question while we still have you. Sorry, Rob, the editor. Are there specific system requirements for Android in order for Louie to work?
Yeah, so only one requirement. It works on Android 7 and above.
Okay.
So we support right all the way up to Android 11. And the only reason is because Android came up with a new accessibility architecture with Android 7.
Right.
So it can work with 5 and 6, but then, it's not very stable. So we decided, because every user who downloads it wants a good experience. So right now we only support Android 7 and above.
Sure. Great.
Okay. Now we're done.
We're done.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Well, that's really cool. I love the fact that I really thought that they'd have to really work closely with those app developers, but the fact that they don't, and they can just basically overlay Louie over top of the app and have it work like that, that's really powerful.
Yeah, you should try it because you're an Android user, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely download it and give it a shot because it is pretty slick.
Well, and the more I do think about it, the more I do think that there's incredible mainstream possibilities here as well. Like this is one of those great apps that would be a great piece of AT, but it's also a really powerful mainstream technology as well. And those are always the things that really blossom because you have people on all sides that are getting use out of something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking of some apps that the blind are using, like one of them in particular is Voice Dream Reader, which is an accessible, multi-document style format reader. And, I'm not sure if it does highlighting of the text as it reads along, but, something like that for somebody with reading difficulties, if you could get Louie to say, open Voice Dream Reader, read document, blah, 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 and it highlights the text as it goes, that's super powerful. That same person may not have the dexterity to use a touchscreen properly.
Yeah, and like I said, we are really moving towards this idea of smart homes and smart devices, and we want now that they've snuck these smart assistants into our lives, these smart speakers and digital assistants into our lives. I do feel like more and more those are going to be features that are built into things all around us, and that we are moving in that direction. So, having a voice-controlled phone seems like a pretty logical next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Voice assistance is kind of a one-way communication for the most part. Now, Amazon and Google have started, I guess, giving you the ability to prompt you for a follow-up question, but you're right. You know, how many of us have smart plugs in our homes? How many of us may have smart thermostats? You know, sitting on the couch saying, turn on the Christmas lights or the outdoor lights or whatever the fact may be. It's convenient. And, you know, I'll be, I guess, the first to come up and say that we as humans, I think, are pretty lazy and we will take full advantage of convenience where possible.
That's right. It's true. It's true. Convenience is certainly something that appeals to the mainstream market. But again, like, you know, that's the real irony, right? Is that for somebody who has any sort of a disability, it's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
It's not a convenience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that will still drive the market. Like the mainstream drives the market. And if you can make a piece of AT that has a really strong mainstream implications, you're going to be successful.
You know, if I could sit here on my couch in the guitar dungeon with my home theater all around me and say, hey, Louie, play, I don't know, Sons of Anarchy on Netflix. And it says, would you like to start season 1, episode 1? Yes. And it starts playing it. Sold. Done. Like, I don't have to grab the remote, make sure I'm on the right input, you know, scroll to that episode or that season, hit the play button. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, see, and you know, there is that functionality in Google Home. Maybe you should get a Google Home, Mr. Amazon.
I gave you mine.
That's right, and I use it all the time.
If you have a Chromecast and you can do all that, yeah, sure.
Sure, but that is the limitation of these smart speakers, right? Is that they generally have that functionality, but they're only for certain apps that they support,
right? And
it's usually in the same ecosystem, right?
Right.
You know, you have an iPhone, you're screwed. Or if you have an Apple TV and a Google Home, well, good luck with that. Like those aren't going to play well together. So something like Louie that is flexible enough to be for them to be able to be like, oh, you know, a lot of people are asking for this app, so let's just build in that functionality, and it takes them a month or something to do it. That's a lot more. They can respond a lot faster than somebody like Google, and for Google Home to introduce new functionality for new devices or features, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think a company like Pramit's and smaller app developers as well are a lot more forthcoming with information and looking for beta testers and communicating with their audience. You know, Apple's, the Googles aren't that great. So when something new comes out, it might just be a blip, but then it's gone and you don't really hear much about anything from them.
Well, you know, and that's why I love talking to these small app developers, right? Because they're always so community driven, and they're always just about the community, and they love people like getting criticism or having beta testers, and you don't get that with the big companies.
No.
So yeah, that's why I love talking to guys like Pramit. So
yeah, that's right. So everybody get out there, go to your Android Play Store, download Louie, give it a shot, and give them your feedback.
Yeah, there you go.
Make the app better. We
will include a link in the show notes.
We will.
Hey, you know what happened again? I noticed.
What?
Steve's not here, and we did not even address that.
I'm not too worried about
Steve's
it.
not here.
Who cares?
I know, but I don't know.
Steve, who?
I don't know. Maybe you got some fans in the audience.
Who does? Steve does?
Fans right there. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
He doesn't have fans.
No?
No.
He's never got any of that fan mail.
It's the Ryan and Rob Show.
There you go.
We're going to change the name of the podcast to the Ryan and Rob Show.
Yeah, well, maybe. I've been wanting to rebrand the show for a long time, since like our 5th episode where we realized, we're not really going to be talking exclusively about AT.
Yeah.
You know what?
But we do talk more than just AT. AT can stand for a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's true.
But,
so use your imagination. That's why we've never actually said what it stands for.
That's right. It's
part of the mystery.
If you want to help us rebrand the AT Banter podcast, send your suggestions to cowbell at atbanter.com.
We're not rebranding at this point.
Not after 4.5 years, damn it.
No, it just
we have a following.
All the audience that we have.
That's right. We're not losing any of them. We love them all.
You're all staying here with us.
That's right. You're all rock stars.
No, you're all duct tape in our basement. you're not going anywhere.
Grab the zap straps.
Oh, God. All right. Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
Where the hell can people find us?
They can find us at www.atbanter.com.
You can also drop us an email if you so desire. You can talk to us about whatever the hell you want, or give us a show idea, or whatever. Cowbell at atbanter.com.
And please give us some show ideas. We love to hear from our audience, and we're always looking for new ideas for the show, new guests for the show.
Yeah, there you go. Wait, didn't I just say that?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm just following it up. Saying, yes, audience, please submit your suggestions, topics, guests for an upcoming episode.
Wait, sure. Here, let me do it right. You want to email us? Email us. You want to email us? Email us. I don't know how to speak backwards. Otherwise, I would put a track from Sgt. Pepper's over top of that.
There you go.
There we go. Anyways, all right. Well, I think that's going to about do it for us. First episode of 2021.
In the bag.
I thought it went splendidly.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see there. You're your own worst critic.
I am indeed.
All right. That is going to about do it for us this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. We will see everybody next week.
Bye-bye.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.